Welcome to another week of the Swords and Sports Podcast. One man's journey to read 52 fantasy books in 52 weeks and create 52 podcasts documenting the experience. I'm your host, Mike Mogues, the man embarking on this journey. And this week, I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Bjørn Larssen. And he's here to talk about his book, Children. The interview is, of course, coming up after all the book details. If you want to know more about the show, like what authors are coming on, and other basic news about the world of Swords and Sports, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Swords and Sports is the handle. The Instagram has mini clips that I think I'm going to start posting to Twitter if I ever figure out how. And, of course, this podcast is available on whatever platform you are currently listening to it on, and all the other ones. So go do that. Give it a rating. Just like authors, it is helpful if I get ratings on this kind of stuff. Also, it is helpful to my self-confidence, which, depending on what day it is either at an all-time high or an all-time low. I'm looking into figuring that out. That sounded so depressing. Let's get into these book details because I'm so excited because this interview was a riot. And I think it's going to sell itself. The book is Children. And, of course, the author is Bjørn, which I am trying my best to say correctly, and if I am not doing it, we did review it before the interview, and if I'm still butchering it, that's just because I'm not good at follow-through. The series is The 10 Worlds. This is book number 1. It was published on October 3rd, 2020, so it was a belated birthday gift to me, because the book was, my birthday is October 2nd. Which was, I realized a joke no one was going to get unless I explained it. And now it's not funny. It is 442 pages on the paperback edition, and it is a self-published masterpiece. As a spoiler warning, this interview contains spoilers for the following book, Children by Bjørn Larssen. If you have not read the book yet, consider this your warning. Without further ado, an incredible person, Bjørn. It's another week of the Swords and Sports Podcast, and I am beyond excited to bring on an extra special guest, the one and only Bjørn Larssen, here to talk about his book, Children. First off, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. I've been a fan for a while, and this is my first ever video Zoom call, and I'm absolutely terrified. Hi.
When we had talked about doing this, you said you're going to wear your best tunic. Is this your best tunic?
This is my best tunic. I should be sitting a bit further so you could really appreciate the quality of the embroidery. I'm also wearing my arm ring. I'm not sure if I'm wearing it correctly, but I think it's very fitting. Much better than the Apple Watch.
Well, it looks fantastic. When you say your best tunic, you're implying that you have more than one tunic.
Yeah.
How many are we looking at?
I have the 2 peasant tunics. I have that one that's like for plus 35. And I have my wedding tunic. And I have this Celtic shirt that was supposed to be a shirt, but it kind of reaches my knees. So probably counts. And this one. So I think it's 6.
6 tunics?
No, I started kind of cosplaying at home during the quarantine. It was like, nobody sees me anyway. I don't go anywhere, so I can dress up for myself. People were like, oh, I'm constantly wearing sweatpants. And I was like, oh, I've been wearing this tunic for 3 days in a row now. I'm easily amused.
If I was to get started wearing tunics, what would I be looking for?
I think the most important thing is sleeves. If you want long sleeves. And there's the fabric. For a while I was like, why cannot I just get like, summer tunics unless I get them from AliExpress, and they're actually kind of ladies' shirts that are XXXL. And then it occurred to me that probably in 9th century Norway, they didn't get very hot all the time. So this is really quite cotton, and I like linen. But if you have really good heating at home, then maybe stick with a t-shirt. But you're wearing that hoodie, so you're probably a bit cold.
It is a little bit cold in New York today. Also, I don't think 9th century Netherlands had AliExpress, unfortunately, though maybe they would have more tunics. You have a kind of an interesting past. You moved to the red light district in Amsterdam after leaving communist Poland. Were you searching for a place that was pretty much the polar opposite of where you lived intentionally, or did you just stumble into it?
It's even worse. I was living in Catholic Poland.
Oh man!
Until 89, they were kind of loudly preaching whoever it was, Gorbachev, I think, and quietly a church. And after 89, it kind of switched. Now the Polish are kind of chummy with Putin, but sort of quietly. And the church is the ruling institution. So that was the country I left, super Catholic. And I might not be Catholic, but it's kind of, it gets in the blood. And when I moved to Amsterdam, I actually didn't know that red light district wasn't a district. I didn't know that Amsterdam is really small. So I was looking at houses and I was just trying to find something not very expensive. And I was shown this really nice place. And it was really quite cheap. So I was like, yeah, we're taking it. I didn't really look at the neighborhood. But also red light district during the day doesn't really look like red light districts.
Right.
And then after a while, it was like, I would be walking to work because it was really close. So I'm walking and I'm like, oh shit. I looked at the window. What even is this? Which orifice does this go into? And then after you've been living there for a year, it's like, still the same dog. You need a new video. You can get used to it, but it was quite a shock. And no, I didn't do it on purpose. I had no idea what I was doing.
That seems like the best way to have that happen, though. I guess you can kind of get used to anything, though.
At the beginning, I didn't know, but it also turned out that I was living on the street with, sorry, I don't actually know the right word. People who are trans and already had their top surgery, but not the bottom surgery.
Okay.
I had absolutely no idea because they have those huge dildos in the window. I didn't know that means something. In the red light district, they kind of have dildos pretty much everywhere. And only in the morning, one day, I was going to work and two of them were kind of yelling at each other from the opposite sides of the street. And I was like, wow, they have deep voices. So I picked, I didn't know I picked a really nice part of red light district. And they very quickly found out that I wasn't the customer. So they would kind of knock in the window and be like, same with drug dealers. They asked me a few times, would you like heroin, cocaine, ecstasy, whatever. And then after a while, it was just like nodding. Yeah, hi, it's me again.
I kind of love that. I feel like you brought some nice sweetness to the neighborhood.
They're really nice people.
Yeah, I think people, when they hear about certain neighborhoods or something, they don't realize that people are just people, wherever you go.
It's a very nice neighborhood to live in, except the tourists. But if you live in the red light district, you probably should expect tourists.
Right. I mean, yeah, tourists are everywhere. One of the things that I see that you're often mentioning is that you left your heart in Iceland. Are you concerned that your body's going to shut down without a heart?
I am. I'm very, very concerned about that. I keep tweeting that the Icelandic Ministry of Culture could or should already make me the writer in residence, and they just don't care about my health, which is very rude. But yeah, there's a group on Facebook called Iceland Fire and Ice, and in their description it says, "When you go to Iceland, be prepared to leave your heart behind and never get it back." And I was like, well, I'm just going to, do some research and look at the views. They were right. I don't know where I left it, so I have to move there and just, go around the entire place until I find it.
Yeah, I don't think there's an app to finding your heart. So you might be in for a long treasure hunt.
You know what? In a way, in Iceland, they have an app to finding your heart throb, if that's a word, because there's like 350,000 people. And Iceland has been isolated for a very, very long time. So a lot of those people are related to each other. So there is actually an app where you can check if you are not too close relatives. You meet someone on whatever, Tinder, and then you go on this app and you're like, oh shit, second cousin.
Close enough, far enough.
But it's really nice because it also works with history.
Okay.
And a friend of mine was like, so this is how related I would be to Ragnar Lothbrok if he actually existed.
Oh my God. That's actually
nice. Grandpa. Well, grandpa.
I guess if you're looking for oh my God, this is so corny. I guess if you're looking for an icebreaker, finding out how related you are to someone is a great way to start.
Maybe not on the first date, but maybe you'll find a nephew you didn't know about or something.
Yeah, I guess that's an awkward
an
that's a very awkward morning after. Do Icelandic funerals really include discussions about sheep and poems?
In the early 20th century, they did. That was my first book that I read when I decided to set my first book, Storytellers in Iceland. Independent People by Halldór Laxness, who was the first and only Icelandic Nobel Prize winner for literature. And I was reading this book and I couldn't figure out if this is comedy or not. It's like, yeah, we have this funeral and the priest is kind of like, can we be done with this? Because I've got, weddings to perform. And then the farmers go back to the house of the guy who just lost his wife, and they have to kind of talk about something. So they're drinking coffee with brandy, and they're talking about, well, sheep. And it's like, what new poems have you written? And they kind of have this rap battles. And I was reading that, and I was just thinking, no freaking way. And then I got a book about history of Iceland, and I found out that they were extremely literate because of the church.
Okay.
The church would send people around to talk to kids and make sure that they learned their catechism and psalms and whatever else. So they had to read. So Iceland had the highest literacy level in Europe at the time. And then during the winter, it's just really dark and long, and you don't have much to do. A lot of people would just sit and write diaries, poems, whatever else. One of the reasons I would like to learn Icelandic is that I would like to read this kind of stuff. Those things don't get translations, like the diary of a blacksmith from 75 years ago.
Well, that would appeal to you.
Probably. If I could read it.
Right. Well, that's one barrier. That's a major. Well, hey, didn't stop you from learning how to read on your own.
No, but not Icelandic.
If you did it once, you could do it again. That is one of the. I find this, first off, I find that hysterical that this country becomes super literate, and the first thing they do is just write bad poetry.
I didn't say it's bad.
Oh, that's a good point. I said it. I'm making that claim.
They actually, in the book, they actually, those farmers were actually sitting and like kind of, better reading for each other, sort of, scoring. Like, this one's not great. Oh, is that the best you could do? You had 3 months and this is the best you could do.
I think the funny thing about that is you never know when someone's going to die and you're forced to go read these poems. So you got to make sure you have one ready to go at all times.
More than one, probably. No, but right. It was also read when people didn't die, luckily.
Okay.
That was not the only occasion, I think.
I like this idea of, I didn't know Jim was...
I am probably offending half of Iceland. I'm really, really sorry.
We've got a big fan base there, I'm sure. So
I have a huge fan base in Iceland, at least 2 people.
Well, that's half the country and they're related. I didn't, you're monitoring Jim's health. You're like, I don't have this poem ready. He really needs to make it to next week. So one of the things that I found fascinating that I've never actually seen before is, a lot of people picked up quarantine hobbies like, learning how to knit or learning, how a different language. You as a child taught yourself how to read. Is that the ultimate self-taught hobby?
That was before the quarantine. I had like 6 books for kids, and I just forced my mom to read them to me over and over and over again. And she finally said, you know every single word in those books. I'm not reading them ever again. And that was true. I knew every single word in those books. I would just grab that book and kind of, go through it and learn the words and then figure out the sounds that make the word. I didn't really know what a phoneme was or what a syllable was. And then I just started going through my parents' library. I didn't know that there's such a thing as adult books. And they didn't really believe me. I was reading them. So I think I went through quite a lot before they noticed that I'm reading a paper. And they asked me, so what's on the first page? I said, oh, this is on the first page. And they were like, oh, shit, what are you reading now? But I actually used it a lot in children. And then in the sequel, that if you don't know something's impossible, you're going to do it.
Right. I mean,
so I didn't know I was not supposed to learn reading at this age. But I went to school to the first class, and the kids were learning like how to read the first A and then M. I was like, I don't really understand what this lesson is about. What am I supposed to be doing here?
Well, that's like if it's a lesson on walking, but you've been running around already. You're like, I've never walked in my life. I don't get this at all.
Like, is this a really, really big elaborate joke?
Oh my God, how boring must that have been? You're already like, wait, you're like, can we get a book already? I thought this was school. Reading like a worksheet with one letter on it.
I didn't understand because they said your homework is to read this. So I was memorizing the texts.
Right.
Because I couldn't figure out how this could be homework, like read 2 sentences. Okay, and somehow my mom never taught me that, maybe she didn't know. She never told me that I don't have to memorize them. So at some point we got to like a whole page and I was starting to complain, this is getting really difficult. Yeah, I really didn't know.
Well, the first time the teacher called on you must have been teacher's mind blown.
They didn't realize. I think. Maybe it really was one huge conspiracy.
You never know. So one of the things that I found interesting, besides, as a child, you grew up teaching yourself how to read. You grew up wanting to be a pop star and you even practiced your Grammy acceptance speech. Can I get a sample of what you would have said?
I'm sure it was very good. It's been a while. Now I've been preparing for the Pulitzer more than the Grammy, but okay.
Did you translate? There you go. He's got a microphone.
So much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank my plastic surgeon for insisting that I keep my natural beauty. And thank you, Michael and Janet, for giving me this trophy. One day you might be as big as I am. And trust me, it's wonderful.
Well, that would get 1 million views on YouTube first day. So that is it. I like that you had that ready to go. I guess you could just transfer that to the Pulitzer as well.
Well, with Pulitzer, it was pretty much the same, only with my favorite authors. And
there
with less plastic surgery.
Though that joke might go over well, no matter what the audience is.
Probably not so good in politics.
Maybe not. Well, in politics, they're all thinking it. You self-published a graphic novel you wrote when you were 7 in a limited edition of 1. Can I have it?
I wish I had it. I remember only one thing that was with robots. And of course, I was writing in it because I was, again, not aware that I'm not supposed to know how to write. And I was so excited to use a stapler because it was like 8 pages and, robots and a stapler. And I was so excited that I immediately started on the sequel.
Right.
But no, it's lost in time. One day someone will find it and sell it on eBay for millions, I'm sure.
Well, I hope they give you a cut of it because that's how royalties work. You call yourself Bjørn, I'm the reason Odin drinks. What about you is the reason that Odin drinks?
You probably haven't read that one yet.
So is that a biography?
The novella. I start with the creation of the universe. And, gods at the beginning have to learn how to God properly. So imagine that you kind of wake up and you don't remember the night before. And not because you had so much fun, but because there was no night before. And you're expected, go around and create everything. And you don't even know what everything is. And then someone like that writes about it and everybody can find out. This is why Odin drinks.
That's a good, I guess I would pick up the med if the mead if I had those problems too.
It's actually correct in the mythology. Odin subsists on wine.
Right. Okay.
Nothing else. So sits there in Valhalla and watches the warriors battle, and then they eat. What do they eat? Oxen, I think. Well, tons of meat and drink whatever they like. And Odin's like, FML, no wonder I drink. Tomorrow is the same.
Even the most entertaining show, if you got to watch it every day, is going to bore you eventually.
And you have no idea what it smells like.
Not good, because I don't smell good right now, so I can't imagine how that smells.
Yeah, well, imagine what your guts smell like, and then multiply that by like 20,000.
Well, 5 minutes before this interview, my guts did not smell so good. So, and those are.
I cannot confirm that.
I want you to settle a debate for me because you've been an actual blacksmith. And I've had 2 authors on this show. One of them is a fake blacksmith, Cameron Johnston. And I've got my own beef with him. And he told me I can't blacksmith a sword in a week. And then I had Stephen Arian on the show who blacksmithed the sword in a day, though he claimed he cheated. How fast can I blacksmith a sword?
This might be a bit of a long answer.
Okay.
So first of all, it depends on the quality of the sword. Obviously, what you're going to do with it.
I just want to kill someone one time. It just needs to be a 1 kill off sword.
Then you don't even need to make a sword. Just take the chunk of iron and smack them on the head.
But I'm not very strong, so it's got to be somewhat sharp.
Bladesmithing is quite a separate job. I tried to make a sword and I discovered it's really boring for me personally. Because it's very specific sort of work. And you have to be really into it. Or you just kind of, for me, it was like, this is what it's like. Do I have to go on? Because I wanted to do something else. But I have this, it's not really a short, it's not a sword, it's like a dagger. It's like this long. Okay. And yes, you can kill someone with it. It took me about, I think, 3 hours to forge it. But at the end, I was just like, can I please stop? But it's just made of stock iron. So you have this chunk of iron that's already kind of, long. And you just hammer it at right angles to make it sharp. So you change the shape from this into, that.
Okay.
And that requires you to be really precise for a really long time. Or you can take a hydraulic press and make Damascus steel, which is art in itself, and then use that to produce an absolutely wonderful sword. So there is really no good answer to this. It depends.
I took when you said 3 hours, I just applied that to everything you were talking about. So take that, Cameron, 3 hours.
No, absolutely don't take that, Cameron. It's not right. And also send me pictures of your swords. That's not a dirty offer. Send me not nude pictures of your swords. I'm making it worse, aren't I?
You are making it worse. You're gonna get a lot of dick pics after this. Sorry. That's the perfect time to ask a serious question, right? That's always my lead in. In an interview you stated that you hope that your books don't become part of this diversity checklist. And I kind of like this concept. Like you said, that traditional publishing has become very enamored with the concept of diversity because it turned out that there's money to be found there. What appeals to me is the idea of a character with bipolar or an artistic one just being in the book without a diagnosis or just as a person. There's a chance of there's always a chance of this, right? Like when it comes to books, like it being like lumped into a diversity checklist or something. Do you believe that that's like a dangerous thing for publishing to be trying to do?
Yeah, I do. Crystal Matter and I have written this kind of not really interview, sort of between interview and article about default people, because I'm autistic and I'm gay and I wear tunics, and I don't walk around thinking about myself. Oh, I'm such a diverse person. Damn it. I'm me. I'm my default person. This is who I am. So reading that, for instance, a book has like 3 queer characters and that makes it very diverse, make me just think, that's not called diverse, that's called people. And before I published Children, which has an autistic character based on me, I actually went on a group for people who got adult autism diagnosis, and I asked them, do you think I should mention this in the blurb or like not? And someone said, just say it in the book. I was like, yeah, but it kind of takes place, in 9th century. And he said, well, it's fantasy. You can say whatever you want. And I decided to say nothing because it was starting to feel like I'm, autism fishing.
Right.
And I really don't like this idea that publishers go like, so now we used to have 1 Black author and now we have 3. We are becoming so diverse. And also we had this 1 book with a lesbian couple. And now we have a gender fluid person, so diverse. Praise us for our diversity. And
all those
in
people
indie
worked
books,
on the same book.
people just are.
Right.
I'm reading a book now with 2 very important characters who go by they. And that book is not advertised as contains characters that go by they. They just are. And that's what I like.
I totally agree with that, and I think that was fantastically well put. I think that you're doing a great job of just being yourself, and I think that when you're authentic, that's what resonates the most with people.
I'm great at faking authenticity.
Well, then you're a great actor as well. You mentioned you're autistic, you're gay, and you wear tunics, but you also have an incredible head tattoo. Don't tell me that
more than one.
Right. Don't tell me that doesn't hurt. For everybody who's watching on YouTube.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's coming. It looks fantastic. Now, as a bald man, should I be getting head tattoos myself?
If I ever go bald, I actually met a guy once on the street. He had a braid tattooed right from here to here. And I saw that. And I was like, if I ever go bald, I'm getting that.
I hope you don't. If you go bald, I'd be so upset because that hair is magnificent.
Thank you. I'm trying to hold on to it.
You are on my list of authors with the best haircuts.
How long is that list?
It's surprisingly long. I'm somewhat obsessed with men's haircuts.
Okay.
Also, if I do that tattoo of a braid, I'm not sure how my wife would feel, but it would be fun for a day or two. Be like, is this a joke? I'd be like, this is for real.
Unfortunately, this is not how tattoos work.
I think my last question before we get into these awesome book questions is, did you really meet an elf?
Yes.
Where?
In Iceland. Where else?
At like a McDonald's?
No, at I don't know if that's a correct pronunciation. You have those piles of rocks, the elf houses, cairns.
Okay.
Is that the right word? Cairn.
Was the elf on the dating app?
In Ireland and Scotland.
Okay. Not on the app though, of the cousins.
No, we are not related.
That's a good opener though. I'm related to an elf.
No. Too round.
All right. I think we're ready to do some book questions. How you feeling?
I hope I remember that book.
This happens more than I thought would happen.
I've written this book and I thought it was really quite funny, but there are two scenes in it that I felt were really, really heavy. And that's why I put the trigger warnings at the beginning, because those two scenes are heavy. And then I found out that people had to take breaks from reading because it was so dark, and they had to take breaks like throughout the whole book. Like, but it's really funny. And someone said it has genocide in it. It's like, but briefly.
Just a little genocide. I think
it's like, yeah, you know, when you rewrite a book so many times, I wrote it 29 times, you no longer know what you're writing, really.
It's, you know, I think
this becomes, you know, the book. You don't think it's dark or whatever.
I think one of the marks of a good book, though, is, you know, you're saying that people took breaks, but they didn't take permanent breaks from it. They came back. So I think when a lot of people tell you that they took a permanent break from your book, then you might not have something. But in this case, you've got something fantastic. So let's get into it.
Did you take breaks?
No, I read straight through, no matter what it is. If my eyes start bleeding, so be it. I mean, I think this book had some really like emotional highs, and like on both ends, you know, like, you know, in terms of the graphicness and in terms of the hilarity. And I feel like
that's what I was hoping for.
I think that creates like a good mixture of things that you don't think go together, like sweet and sour pork or something. So as always,
putting that on the cover.
There you go. That's the next blurb. Please don't ever use one of my blurbs if you're trying to sell books. As always,
very tasty.
It is fantastic. As always, these questions are spoilerish. If you haven't read Children yet, first off, stop wasting your time. Whatever you're watching on Netflix is not going to be as good as this. My first question: Ifing is supposed to be uncrossable, yet in the first chapter, someone crosses it. Should we now refer to it as kind of crossable?
Maybe we should kind of refer to it as kind of crossable.
Beautiful.
It's like, you know, with an asterisk, like with the small print.
Do you think, I think it's more threatening to have something be kind of crossable than uncrossable. Because if I hear it's impossible, I go, well, someone's got to be the first one to do it. If I hear it's kind of crossable, that means that many people have attempted it and failed.
That's what the gods are afraid of. And that's why Thor keeps the Jotnar population down, because they're still kind of, you know, like, this is an uncrossable river. It completely cannot be crossed, but, you know, just in case, let's make sure not too many can cross it, just in case, you know, there's terms and conditions. And it turns out that they're right, of course.
Do you think Thor dressing in drag, poorly by the way, was gonna fool the king?
I think that nobody really expected it would work. The king has never seen Freya, and that's the only thing they could rely on. But Thor was mostly really pissed off that he had to shave his beard.
Yeah, that's
the dress. Okay, you know, fuck the dress. We're going to. Can I say can I drop F-bombs?
Have you listened to the show? Fuck.
Yeah, but you know, I'm this very elaborate artiste. I shouldn't use words like fuck. So he's wearing all those fucking rings all over the place that he actually borrowed from Freya. And he's wearing this dress that's kind of, you know, the size of a mountain, because he's the size of a mountain. And all he wants is to eat and drink. And the king is like, ooh, can I look into your eyes? It's like, fuck off, give me, you know, where's the meat? But obviously he cannot quite say that because he's very bad at doing the high voice. So
they should have went to
your old neighborhood. If it didn't work, they didn't really have a plan B.
I think plan B seemed to be massacre everybody. I didn't like that plan. Maybe Thor should have taken lessons from the people in your old neighborhood.
That would have taken a bit too long, I think.
Right. This was like
he's not very patient. He wanted that hammer now. That's also why that was the plan they came up with, because normally they would meet up and elaborate. And Freya was like, oh, hell no. And Thor was like, oh, hell no. And, okay, make me a dress, but like really, really big and really, really fast. I'm going there.
It could have worked. You never know. I don't hate the plan. It did work.
It worked. Genius network.
That was a master. That's the kind of plan I would come up with. Be like, you know what? Let's just dress as a girl. This will work.
I would be really unhappy to shave though. Do you shave?
Yeah, okay. I don't think I've gone clean shaven since I was like 16, and like had to for like a court case.
Okay, there's a story in that.
It's not as entertaining as you would think. I think it was like an underage like drinking like case. It wasn't that fun. I wish it was more fun than that.
I started drinking when I was 24, so
never applied to you.
No.
I
was a very boring teenager because I was kind of raising my brother. So my stepfather disappeared. So I did teenage rebellion in my 20s, which is really dangerous because if you're like 14 and you want to get a tattoo, then the tattoo artist just tells you, no, get the tattoo out of here. But when you're 24 and you want to get a tattoo, you get a tattoo. If you want to drink a bottle of whiskey, you go and drink a bottle of whiskey. And then you find out what a hangover is.
Yes, and let me tell you, the older you get, the worse they get. The irony is,
I noticed. This will surprise you, but I'm now older than 24.
You look like you're still 24. You look fantastic.
Well, I was thinking you're a 16-year-old with a gluten beard. So
16-year-old on testosterone at that point. I mean, with this facial hair. I think I had this beard when I was 16. I'm a hairy man.
I thought you would say, I think I had testosterone.
Is Horsey the greatest name ever for a horse?
It's the greatest name Magni could come up with at short notice.
He is a master
He's always
namer.
Been really bad with names.
Even that's a bad name?
Them. Well, the horse was not extremely pleased with it. But all she could do was roll her eyes and be like, really? There's a lot of eye rolling that she does on those pages.
If you're concerned about forgetting your horse's name, it's pretty good to name it after what it is.
Exactly.
Like,
actually, that was a really good idea. Yeah, you're right. Very smart.
Well, you came up with it.
I'm going to start naming things in my house now.
Like Bookie?
Bookie, phony. Phony apparently means something else.
Both things we said were words that meant something else. So how bad are we at this?
Magni did the best job after all.
Leave it to the master. Look, I know that eating Odin's fruits would eventually kill you, but how quickly would you eat them if someone sent you like an edible arrangement of them?
That depends because I'm not really into sweets. But if you send me a pizza,
like Odin's Pizza, Odin's Pizzeria, come get your large pepperoni.
And when we say pepperoni, the fruit is actually based on heroin. Only if heroin was something you could do sort of once a month and made you feel younger and healthier. But the addiction is based on heroin.
Okay.
So I hope I wouldn't eat it too fast. I have never seen heroin. I think I've seen heroin actually in the Amsterdam Museum. Amsterdam Museum is really weird and I really recommend it. And then I was researching heroin addiction and withdrawals and effects of taking heroin. And then my Google ads got really weird for a while. So that's how I found out there is a clothing brand called Rehab.
Oh yeah, all right. Well, there you go. Look at that. You're finding new fashion.
They don't have tunics.
So you're out on it. Let's talk to the people at Gucci. We could get you a Gucci tunic.
I'm not paying for that.
Yeah, it'd be like $10,000.
And probably
Hey.
quite ugly.
Hey, if children keep
Have you
selling.
seen those like where those Louis Vuitton handbags that were made from like IKEA bags and it cost like $40,000? Remember?
Yeah, I've got one right now.
Of course you do.
This podcast has zero ads, so no.
It's beautiful. That's totally what I was going to say. It's a sign of good taste if you have it.
I'm trying to get sponsored here, so if Louis V, if you're looking for someone, I'm your guy.
And I hope someone from Icelandic Ministry of Culture is watching this, except for that bit about the funerals. Don't watch that.
I do not think we're getting a sponsorship from Iceland. We might have to kiss that one goodbye. I'm sorry.
After this, probably.
I don't think you're going to get that writer in residence treatment, but you know what? Success, if you're successful enough, they'll look past whatever you say.
If I'm successful enough, I'm buying you the IKEA bag.
One of the goals of this podcast is to break that kind of stereotypical view of fantasy that I think someone put it, white English, kind of read by, neckbeards in their mom's basement, like misogynistic, kind of view of fantasy. What about your books breaks that traditional mold and shows that not only is fantasy for, everybody, or, it's for audiences that, you wouldn't stereotypically think of?
I'm really ashamed to admit that I thought that too when I was writing the book. And I was looking at that book and thinking, this is not fantasy. Because, there are no sword battles and basically, like the basement neckbeards are not going to like having one MC that's gay or one that's aromantic and asexual. That's just not going to work for them. So I saw a discussion on Twitter, and I'm afraid I offended people without realizing, because they were talking about how a lot of people look at genre fiction, like at fantasy, they look down. It's like, see, I'm writing this book, and I don't think it's fantasy. I think it's kind of more, I don't really know what it is, literary fiction or something. And people took offense, and I didn't understand why, because what I was actually thinking is that it's not good enough to be fantasy. There is not a single sword battle. There is not a single battle altogether, because I don't know how to write a battle. But then I was talking to a blogger called Arena, who is quite amazing. And I was telling her, I have this problem that, basically there's this, my idea of fantasy fan, which is what you just described, and my book will not appeal to those people. So what do I do? And she said, well, if you don't name it fantasy, then you're leaving the genre to those people. I thought, yeah, that's right, actually. So I took my book with gay autistic MC and with a romantic asexual MC, and I put a lot of my personal politics in it. I was like, there is one sword in it, which I use for comical effect.
Hey.
And you know what? It's fantasy. I decided it's fantasy. And if you don't like it, fight me.
I would not like to do that. That is a fantastic answer, and I really appreciate it. One of the things that we do on this podcast is...
I've been warned.
Dick
multiple
jokes!
times.
Your good friend Crystal had a blast with this part. So this is the #1 podcast for talking about dicks in fantasy, and I have pulled some of my favorite quotes from the book. I hope I haven't missed any, and I'd love to read some to you.
Okay, go on.
You lost
There's
your
only one that's there on purpose, so I'm curious what you pulled.
I don't know. Some of the stuff people don't think are jokes, but they make me laugh. The dandelions made me think of Jotunheim's dead grass, the warm baths of the chills of summer, the dry bread that was crunchy inside rather than outside, and the city of light turning to rubble because Thor thought with his cock. Bad reason.
Well, That's not really a joke. That's just true.
But those are the best
Like,
jokes.
did you know that they used the Thor's hammer to hallow the bride, hallow the marriage, and
Really?
they would put it in the bride's lap. It's like, you know what a hammer looks like? And you put it in the bride's lap. Like, could you be a bit more direct? Because I just don't think I get it.
All right. You lost your clothes, said the woman human. Then she licked her lips and winked at me. She wasn't really looking at my face, though, just at my. It made me more uncomfortable than the idea of putting the bloody tunic back on. Looking at.
Yes, that's what she was looking at.
Where else did I have?
It's not really a joke. He's just really not used to having women looking at his.
Okay, I've got my favorite one in there. I've always wondered how an ice giant would feel in a hot tub, mused Herjolf. Dizzy, I couldn't have answered from all the blood rushing both up and down, from feelings I couldn't name and thoughts that sprinted past me before I could think them. He looked down. You're definitely a giant. That's good.
I'm quite happy with that one, yes.
And you said there was another one. I think I missed it. Do you know which one did I miss?
That's towards the end, when Magni is admiring Heimdall's sword.
Right.
Because of course he's a blacksmith, and there's this really long, thick sword, and it's beautiful, and it's nice and shiny and smooth, and he would like to drop to his knees to admire it really up close.
Yes. Okay. You some good
absolutely on purpose. And then, of course, at the end, he kind of gets to admire it up close.
Yes,
but off the page. I was going to make a competition for fan fiction about this. But, well, not yet. Maybe in a while when I'm really rich and famous, when I actually sold like 100,000 of those books and I offended enough people that I can go like, okay, and let's do the fanfic.
I would love to be the judge. I would love to be the judge of that competition. So please keep me in mind.
I was just going to say, I'll keep that in mind. You'll probably enjoy it much more than I would. I'm a prude. I'm a total prude.
Oh, I don't know. I read your book. I'm not positive of that.
You know what? The master smith I used to work with, one time he got really, really pissed. And it takes a long time for two blacksmiths to get pissed. And he said to me that, I really hope he's not watching this. Some people talk a lot, but they do very little. And I thought to myself, this is why I don't talk much. I live in Amsterdam. Being gay in Amsterdam opens possibilities.
I can imagine. Speaking of possibilities, is Freya correct? Are orgies actually an excellent place to meet someone?
You can meet a lot of people at orgies. That's kind of what they're for. You just stand at a snack table and you're bonding over the sausages. But I know a couple that met at an orgy.
Are they still together?
And, sorry?
Are they still together?
They were together for 7 years.
That's pretty long.
Eventually. But they had to come up with a very different origin story for the grannies. So how did you meet up? Well, we were at this public space of entertainment, and suddenly our eyes met. No, I love this couple. I love this story.
Yeah, I think at some point you just got to say we met online. You got to come up with some.
They didn't meet online. That's even worse. They met very much offline.
They might have met on a line for something.
Probably.
This has devolved into chaos.
You're horrible, Muriel.
How often? And I think I'm gonna make this the final question because you just brought up your blacksmith master. How often did Gunnar and Magni set each other on fire for it to become a running joke between them?
It's not on purpose. That's something that I got from also from my master smith. First of all, the smell of burning flesh, you get used to it. You just kind of go like, fuck, when you go on, because otherwise the iron will get cold. And then like when the iron actually got cold, then you can, attend to your burn, whatever it was.
Okay.
But also every now and then you just don't pay enough attention. You have really hot iron behind you, or you end up making a fire that's a bit too big and a bit not very smartly done. It's like, who's burning this time? Oh shit, it's me. It's kind of funny. Or you step on something and you smell this burnt rubber. It's again like, who's burning this time? It's you.
This doesn't sound fun at all.
It's funny. It's hilarious. I know for most people, probably being on fire is not completely hilarious, but for us it was.
Oh my God. You got a different sense of humor. No, that sounds hysterical. I would burn myself in flames in 2 seconds trying to do that.
My husband came to the forge once because I needed help with something and he wanted to try something out. And I was making this chair. And there's a thing called black heat, which is, the cherry red is 600 degrees and then the metal gets black. You cannot hammer it anymore. But it's like 500 degrees. You cannot touch that. And he did. So, of course, he got a burn. And he was like, ow, 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 ow. Like,
did you laugh?
No, I didn't laugh. It's like, oh, you shouldn't have grabbed that. I said, okay, that's enough blacksmithing for him.
That's when I leave. Yeah, that's exactly it.
He was done.
All right, burning your husband. I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you so much
for coming. I don't know if you'll agree.
I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. Where can people find you and your books?
BjørnLarssen.com, if you know how to actually spell that. My books at the moment are mostly on Amazon, but I'm about to take them wide into all the ebook stores probably in November.
Look out for that.
Paperbacks and hardcovers you can just get anywhere. You can go to your favorite store and request one, or to a library and request one, or buy it online.
Hey, everybody go out and do that. I just wanted to thank you so much for taking time out. This was an absolute blast.
Thank you so much. I was probably less terrified than I should have been, or more terrified than I should have been. I'm not watching it, by the way.
I mean, you're a guy who builds fires for fun, so I don't know what could be scarier than that.
Watching yourself on the screen talking bullshit for an hour. No, I wanted to make video newsletters for my blog, and I made 2, because unfortunately then I had to look at my face and listen to my voice, and I'm a bit allergic to those. So I'm glad that you're doing the editing and you're doing the posting it online, and like, I'll just tweet the link, and I hope nobody notices. Except the Icelandic Ministry of Culture.
Yeah, we need to I'll send that directly to them. All right, until next time. Man, Bjørn is fucking awesome. I could talk to him all day. And in fact, I tried to after the interview, but unfortunately, I had to go to work. I hope everybody enjoyed that because it's a ton of fun, and I doubt that's going to be the last time we're seeing him featured on this show. Let's get into these closing statements because October was absolutely wild. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all the authors I had on for October, and I really do appreciate all of it. Next week is going to be Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. And let me tell you, that interview, wouldn't even call that an interview because it was it was all over the place, exactly how I like it. And then after that is We Are the Dead by Mike Shackle. The list of books that have been featured this year is absolutely incredible. If you are not aware of what's going on the Swords and Sports podcast, please check out the backlist because it is awesome. Keep on reading or something. Peace.